A Giants podcast for Giants fans
by Giants fans.
It's Shaun Morash.
On the sideline, into the end zone. Touchdown, Giants!
From the offseason to the wins and the losses, it's time to take one Giant step.
Welcome into One Giant Step, a Week 9 edition of One Giant Step. The G-Men return home to take on the Washington Commanders for the second and final meeting of the year. A game earlier in the year that Giant fans still will complain about with the kicker situation that, of course, was so paramount in that game. But nonetheless, Giant fans, another home game. Will the Giants actually score? A lot of negative vibes heading in off a Monday night game. And let me just start here. He's Bryce Gelman. I'm Shaun Morash. At Bryce Gelman, at Shaun Morash. You can follow us on Twitter, of course. Yankee season's over. Okay, I say that to say because they were, let's be honest, a bit of a distraction, as were the Mets until the NLCS as well, with what has gone on with football in this town. And maybe you're out of town, and that's great. But if you're in the New York City area, maybe Yankee fan, Met fan, we were very blessed with two deep baseball runs. Incredibly frustrating ending to a World Series, but promise this ties into football. We had a dueling World Series situation and game on Monday Night Football with the Giants and Steelers. We've had just nonstop, I think, fan base focus and concentration while we've paid attention to the bad of the Giants, and we try to do that job for you each and every week. You know, most sports fans are sports fans, right? And there's a high percentage of Giant fans that are either Yankee or Met fans and do care about baseball. Now comes the crashing realization as November starts that this is the Giant team that is going to be amped up. I continue to say that, Bryce, because tell me if I'm crazy. I think the pressure is now ratcheted up versus a Washington Commander team at home where the Giants have struggled, where as much and as angry as the Giants fans have been, well, now there's no outlet. The baseball season outlet is over, meaning this is what people got. Now, you might be a hockey fan, NBA fan. That's fine. Rangers, Knicks, Islanders, Nets, whatever, go down and down, Devils, whatever. But this is it, Bryce.
Yeah.
The fan base is going to have no patience for nonsense on Sunday. They're already ticked off as it is with what happened here with baseball now to come to a crashing end. So let's just start right then and there. Patience worn thin, and I think the players are going to, they're going to feel a fan base very ratcheted up and very impatient on Sunday if things are as ugly as they could be.
Shaun, what you're saying is I'm kind of in disagreement here with what you're saying, because what you're saying is implying the Giants fans still have hope for the season.
No. Forget the hope. Forget the hope. What you have here, Bryce, and I've come to this realization at 37 years old, okay? There's no way you're ever going to get a fan base to agree on this. There's a portion of the fan base that will say, I don't really care if they lose every game. We should tank. We should lose. And tank's the wrong word because the team isn't actually tanking. We should lose every game, get to the top of the draft, and figure it out. There are fans that think like that. There are other fans that go, there's no guarantees, whether it's quarterback or other position at the top of the draft. I just want to have an enjoyable Sunday every Sunday and not get blown out and have the Giants interesting. And then there's going to be like another small slither of fans that will go, you're not really eliminated until you lose 7-8 games. This is a winnable game, the Germany game coming up. There's no unison here. So What I'm saying is on Sunday, forget the playoff stuff. Giant fans who maybe on Monday night might have been distracted by the Yankees or baseball, where they're watching the Giants, but it's not as bothersome to them. It is going to be, oh my God, that's right. Look at this crap. The procedural penalties. Daniel Jones with a turnover here. How come we can't score offensively? Picture everything every Giant fan has said, but now picture it with more emotion where they're not distracted at all. I know that sounds crazy, and I know we're doing a Giant podcast here to service Giant fans, but there are Giant fans who may not even realize they're going to feel that way.
Yeah, well, and you have to consider the fact that what we just witnessed last night with the Yankees, because I think you could say I want to say 70% of Giants fans are Yankees fans, because it's usually Giants, Yankees, and then Mets, Jets, but they're 30%. I know a bunch of Jets.
Impossible to put a percentage, Mets, but I get your point.
But you get what my gist here. There are people out there who just witnessed one of the most incompetent looking losses in a series of that magnitude, like the Yankees just had, And their outlet is now going to become the New York Giants. If they're Giants fans or if they're Knicks fans, or no one's a Nets fan besides you. But there are some people out there, they're going to have to focus directly in on this Giants team when they already know. They've already resigned to the idea that the season is over. Think about that after what we just witnessed last night, what we witnessed in game one. So you mentioned the emotion now that it's only the Giants. There are no distractions. They're coming off of a distraction that just ruined their sports fandom.
I know.
That made them go to the brink especially
at home. You have season ticket holders, or people maybe go to one game a year. This is the game they go to, that are just looking to enjoy themselves on a Sunday. Maybe it doesn't matter from Ed from Mattawan, who's on the couch every Sunday gambling and watching the Giants and going, whatever, the team stinks. I'm telling you, there are 80,000 people that are about to fill MetLife Stadium on Sunday, most of which have either been to multiple games this year where the team has failed to score a touchdown, some of which are just looking to invest their one day and one amount of money, and they're already on edge because they've seen incompetence with other teams in town. So that's what's awaiting.
Let me just say this. It could be a lot worse. You could be a Jets fan.
Well, card subject to change on them. By the time people listen to this, I guess we'll know what happened on Thursday night. Okay. Now, what is awaiting the Giants on Sunday? It's another game versus another really good team and another what shoulda, coulda, woulda, thing here with the quarterback. Jaden Daniels could have been the Giants quarterback had they lost enough games down the stretch and hadn't we not been going, Tommy DeVito, Instead, he's Washington's quarterback coming off an unbelievable Hail Mary to beat the Chicago Bears on Sunday. He did look beat up. I think the Hail Mary did kind of cloud a lot of what happened with Washington. They didn't look great necessarily on Sunday. And this historically has been a matchup that Daniel Jones has done really well versus. You could even make the case in the first game they lost this year in Washington. Remember, everybody with the kicker situation, the Giants became the first team in NFL history to score 3 or more touchdowns in a game and give up no touchdowns, or not in history. I think it was in however many years. First time in our lifetime.
I think it was.
Was it in history?
Yeah.
What I feel like it might have happened. Oh, in regulation. That's right. Because it had happened once in overtime.
Yeah.
And so Daniel Jones has already showed this year, hey, he can move the ball versus this Washington team. Now, Andrew Thomas played in that game. This is not a Chris Hubbard spectacular at left tackle. By the way, Josh Azudu getting his left knee drained for anybody wondering about that. So it'll be another Hubbard spot. Yeah. I feel like it's redundant to keep saying this could be Daniel Jones's last start. We've done this like 4 times in the podcast this year. 2 weeks ago, Daniel Jones got benched at home versus the Eagles. It's a little different when you're listening to the home crowd boo you and go nuts than it is on the road where you can kind of play free. Brian Dable threw Daniel Jones a little bit under the bus when talking about, the strip sack and everything that went into the end of the Pittsburgh game. Brian Dable very verbally has had it with Daniel Jones. I don't think anybody could deny that. But yet, they still haven't pulled the trigger. Next week, the Giants are in Germany. The week after is their bye. Maybe it's a switch they make it the bye week where they finally have to go full bore with the injury guarantee. So when you consider Germany, bye week before you come back with Tampa Bay and Thanksgiving, this again, I'm going to say, could very well be Daniel Jones' last home start. Bryce, do you think he finishes the game on Sunday?
I hope, because I hope they don't get blown out. We're talking about emotion. We're talking about distraction. We're talking about all that being gone. He gets benched. They're getting blown out. They're losing the game. And there's two options of him getting benched. Either they're blowing out the Commanders, which is not happening, or they are getting blown out by the Commanders, which is a high likelihood. And we'll talk about fantasy versus reality. I think that is going to happen in this game. So do I think that he's going to get benched? I mean, Shaun, I think that it's definitely a likelihood when you look at the discourse between the two of us, between all Giants fans, between what we've heard from Brian Dable, between what we've heard from the beat reporters. We know that he's on his last legs. If that's even he's got as short of a leash as possible that you could possibly.
I don't mean to be crude, and I don't mean to be rude, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody. Daniel Jones feels like he's been on NFL hospice longer than Jimmy Carter's been in real hospice. I can't believe how long he's hanging on here.
Crazy. A year and a half. Wait, but I want to also point this out about Daniel Jones. The fact that the Giants have given him so much time as quarterback. This is his 6th season. No one should feel bad for him. No one should feel bad for the situation. And there are people out there that feel bad. I can't believe there are people like that who exist. but what have we seen over the course of the last 2 or 3 years in the NFL? All these rookie quarterbacks, all these sophomore quarterbacks getting benched before they even get a chance. This guy's had 6 seasons. 6 seasons, Shaun.
Bryce, he did make the playoffs and win a playoff game.
He won a playoff game.
I have to say that because this is what sucks. This is what sucks. I'm not
I
a
hate that we
Daniel
have to talk
Jones.
about this. I hate that we have to continue to get on this podcast and just.
But Bryce, but this is the point, man. I end up as the Daniel Jones apologist and everything. But when everybody just blanketly goes, "Can you believe it's been 6 seasons?" Yeah, well, it was 3 seasons, and it got an extension of life by that 2022 year. So yes,
I'm saying not even like Bryce Young, the first pick in the draft, gets more than a year and a half.
Right.
Not even Anthony Richardson gets more than a year and 6
And by the
games.
way, and Mac Jones out, and he had made a playoff before. Look, I hope that that's a continuing trend where if you think you failed on a quarterback, pull the ripcord before it's too late. Either that or be more patient and sit the guy for a year. I mean, and every guy is different. I would hope that the Giants are never going through a Daniel Jones situation like this again in our lifetime where it takes you 6 years to finally say, you know what? He's not the guy. I would hope.
Yeah.
But I guess card subject to change. Can I tell you the bigger storyline besides Daniel Jones? Because I'm so tired of talking about him and the nonsense, but I had to address first. Whether Daniel Jones finishes this game or not finishes this game at this point becomes so irrelevant. At some point, somebody else is starting a quarterback for the New York Giants this year, right? Is it next week in Germany? Is it after the bye week versus Tampa? Is it on Thanksgiving versus Dallas? At some point, somebody is. Is it the week after if they're extended like half bye versus Dallas? Who knows? You know, is Deonte Banks going to finish this game on Sunday?
Yeah.
Because you're talking about a guy that was called out for effort 2 weeks ago versus Philly. Now, I mean, I am so freaking confused about what happened on Monday night. First of all, ESPN, shame on them, still not showing anything on the sideline that Pat Leonard was basically describing. So who knows how much that was over-exaggerated.
And no one took a video of it. No one, like,
right.
I'm
which is
shocked
odd.
No one,
Clearly, he was benched. And I keep watching that play where he goes low on Najee Harris. Najee Harris is a bull. I mean, he got hurdled. He got embarrassed. To me, I want Deonte Banks going full bore to go low on him. So I'm sorry. I keep coming back to that. I don't watch a lot of Yankee baseball. I'm not in that locker room. I don't know what was taught. I don't know what was, or whatever in those meeting rooms.
Really, getting hurdled is enough to get benched in a game. Something had
so,
to.
And maybe it had more to do with the Pickens touchdown. But again, I thought Banks played that kind of well. But here's the deal, man. Deonte Banks is kind of critical to the Joe Shane talking point because I think Kayvon Thibodeau's awesome. Some disagree. Evan Neal stinks. Josh Azudu stinks. There are pieces in that Wan'Dale Robinson I like. There are pieces in that 2022 draft that you like enough, but overall it's not a good draft class. The 2024 class that we're pumping out right now looks really good. Obviously, anything could change in 2 years, 3 years. It could regress. But that second middle class is really pivotal to Joe Shane and the building blocks of this team. I think I've seen enough halfway through season or year 2 to go. John Michael Schmitz as a second-round center is a good pick. Even if he never makes like a million Pro Bowls at center, just a steady starting NFL center. And that is what John Michael Schmitz has become. There aren't many disaster plays. Not everything is perfect. That is a quality second-round pick. You don't have to be a superstar. A steady starter on the offensive line, as we've learned, hard to come by. You start thinking about the rest of that draft class. Jalen Hyatt, bit of a disaster, especially when you trade up in the third round. What am I missing there? Oh, Eric Gray. That is a draft class right now. Am I missing somebody in the fourth round? I probably am. And that's probably not a good thing.
It's a forgetful draft class. Let's just call it It's a forgetful draft class from top to bottom.
So basically, I say that to say, when you're picking a corner in the 20s, in the NFL, you need multiple corners. That guy doesn't have to be a lockdown number one corner. It'd be great if he was, but if he is a starting solid to really good number 2 corner, that's a good pick in the 20s in that kind of draft. It is. However, we went from, he can still grow into that number 1 corner. He's still a really good 2. He's being forced to be the number 1, and he should get that opportunity to. Oh my God, is he going to play himself off the team in this offseason because he's at odds with the coach and everything? That becomes an unmitigated disaster because you can't have Evan Neal flop your third round pick in a Zudu flop. Flott, was fine, but kind of not anything great as a third round. And then that next year, trade up for Jalen Hyatt, disaster in the third round, and your first rounder end up being a guy that gets himself off the team in 2 years. That's where you start to look at your shit. Your 2 first draft classes have set us back too.
Yeah.
Deonte Banks has to be a player on this team for the next 3 years. He has to earn that rookie 5th-year option to go out there and be one of the starting 2 corners on this team. And if we go another step backwards on Sunday, and it's the 3rd straight week with some kind of Tay Banks incident that, doesn't end well, man, that's not good. And I'm not saying to fire Joe Shane today, because again, I like the draft class from yesterday. But, that's where if you really want to stick your heels in, if you're anti-Joe Shane, start to have the argument, it's Deonte Banks for the second half of this year really is a disaster that can't play and he's off the team. I mean, this is major here. I think it's a much bigger deal for the Giants that Deonte Banks finishes this game on Sunday with 0 incident than it is Daniel Jones finish it with zero turnover. I say that seriously because that cares more about the future of this team.
It's concerning. It really is. And let me just say this as well. If the 2024 draft class wasn't as good as it is right now, Shaun, I think you're looking at a completely different story for Joe Shane and Brian Daboll as an extension in terms of their job security, because you have so many talking points when it comes to the 2022 and 2023 drafts. We've discussed it plenty of times here, the 22 and 22 draft, whatever. It was Gelman scouts, like not a big deal. 2023 is worse. You could say it's almost at this point with what's going on with Deonte Banks is objectively worse. So now let's fast forward to 2024 in this draft. If it wasn't as good, there was no way that Joe Shane is being brought back as GM. This is saving his ass right now. You better hope all these guys continue to play as well as they're playing right now. You better hope Tyrone Tracy turns into the starting running back of the Giants for the next 5 to 6 years.
Right.
You better hope that this continues. If it doesn't, they're done. But Deonte Banks is just major concern. I still don't understand. I want to know what's going on. I want to know.
But that's
more
what, dude.
What we've heard, I get that he's not showing a lot of effort. I get what we saw with the Jalen Hurts play. I get what we've heard from Dexter Lawrence, the de facto captain of this team. Still, he gets hurdled by Najee Harris. I still think it wasn't the best play. He didn't go exactly for the ball on the Pickett's touchdown. He prevented it. I think it was lucky. Whatever. I digress. Either way, getting hurdled my theory is this. He got hurdled. They were teaching something else in practice. Daboll went up to him, tried to correct him. Hey, next time do this. Something had to have happened. Deonte Banks had to have raised his voice. He had to have talked back to the coaching staff. Otherwise, if you didn't do anything on the field, how are you benched in that game? He had to have raised his voice. It's like in kindergarten. Like you're not like if you got a 50 on a test, you're not going to
talk back to the teacher.
You're not.
Don't talk.
But if you talk back to the teacher, you're getting put in timeout.
Bryce, forget that though. Whatever he did, we're never going to know. But do you agree? He's got to finish his game without incident Sunday.
Absolutely.
We're trying to
Absolutely. And I think there's just
bigger deal
much pressure on him now as compared to anyone else because of what happened last week. And again, if he stays on this team, if he's able to get through this season, the Giants are able to acquire a number 1 cornerback. All that pressure is taken off on him. And then we can actually see who he really is as the number 2 cornerback in the system. He's not.
I know, by the way, corners can take time. He could be the number 1 corner by year 4, 5.
He cannot do that by being the number 1 corner the entire time. That's not how it's going to happen.
I agree. No, and regardless, corner was going to be a big deal. And who knows? Let's see what the second half of the year has for Drew Phillips. I mean, that's a guy who, by the way, had inside-outside versatility. Maybe he grows enough in the nickel where they feel comfortable. You know what? We like you a lot, and you go to the outside. Like, things can happen. But
I hope that doesn't. I hope it doesn't, because he could be one of the best nickels in the league, if not the best.
Sure. But maybe he could be one of the best corners in the league, Bryce. I mean, this guy could be limited on that.
That would be a huge ask.
You know what I mean? Nickel is still a starting position anyway, but you get my point.
Yeah.
So I will sit down personally on Sunday just to put a wrap on this. And just know I'm going to curse, I'm going to mumble, I'm going to yell when there's no plays made down the field, although there were a couple last week. Nice scene by Theo Johnson when I went back and rewatched. But I'm going to be watching a lot of Deonte Banks on Sunday. I can't believe I'm sitting down and watching a football game going, I have my eyes on this guy at corner because I'm nervous about it. So, and you know what? Little live production meeting. Bryce can tell you right now, our Deonte Banks segment, let's clip that, put that out on Twitter. So if maybe you listen to this going, I saw that on Twitter. That's why I downloaded and subscribed. That's why. Because me and Bryce are very transparent in our production. Again, at Bryce Gelman, at Shaun Morash. You can download, subscribe to One Giant Step everywhere podcasts are available. All right, let's go fantasy reality. Let's pop it up here. Let's do it. This is what we do every single preview episode. We give you kind of a fantasy play, a prop play. a reality on how the Giants can win the game. Not a reality on what the true reality is, a reality on how the Giants could muster up winning the game, Bryce. I need to remind the audience of that before they yell at us. And then we'll give an overall game pick. Bryce, you know what? It's the second half of the year. I'm 2-6 going first. You go.
You want me to go? You want me to go?
You
All
go.
right.
Take your
Okay.
wings and fly.
All right. Well, the reality of this game, we usually do fantasy. We do fantasy.
Oh,
right?
jeez. Can you
We
pay
do
attention?
fantasy.
Give
I
your
know, I'm a
fantasy
noob.
play first, the
I
reality,
knew.
and then the game pick.
Jesus. Okay. All right. So going into this game, a Commanders team that is riding the highest of highs at 6-2 after what is it could be the most improbable Hail Mary that we've seen in recent memory, considering the fact that one of the players in the secondary, what's his name again, who sat out the play, was yelling at fans in the corner of the field, whatever. You know his name. It's escaping me. The in that game on the Hail Mary in the Commanders game.
Oh, Tyreek Stevenson.
Yes. The fact that happened and they ended up converting on the Hail Mary, it's one of the most improbable plays that you'll ever see, considering that. So there's a lot riding on this game, I think, for the Commanders to keep this going. And we talked about pressure. Who has more pressure on the Giants right now to perform than Malik Nabers? Malik Nabers did not have a good game last week. He did not against the Steelers.
He had a great game versus Washington early.
He did. He needs a bounce back more than anyone else on this team. So I think that Nabers, and again, has Nabers really played well at home since the concussion against Dallas? I don't think so. So Malik Nabers is my fantasy pick. I don't think it's too crazy to say. I don't think it's like too much of a given. I haven't thrown Nabers out there because it's just too obvious sometimes. And Tyrone Tracy has now kind of emerged into that guy that you could pick constantly because he's really effing good, you know? So I think Malik Nabers is my pick. Listen, if they want any chance to win this game, they got to get the ball out quick. Hubbard at left tackle. They will continue to get to the quarterback as fast as any other team in the league, considering who is on the offensive line for the Giants. And we've talked about it consistently. The connectiveness of the Giants' offensive line is completely gone with Andrew Thomas off the field. So you're going to have to get the ball out quick. Daniel Jones, he'll throw for 200 yards. I'll get to this in a second, but he'll throw for 200 yards. 150 of those should be to Malik Nabers. Feed him the ball. Don't think about it twice. Just give him the ball. So now getting into the reality of this game, I think the Giants lose this game. I don't think that should be a surprise to anyone that I'm picking this. I think you should agree with me as well. The Giants lose this game, Shaun, 24-10. I've kind of had this similarity.
You're doing this wrong,
to what I'm like 20, 23-9. It makes
Bryce,
sense.
You're doing this wrong.
What? How am I doing it? What do you mean?
You gave your game pick, which is fine. The reality is the reality of how the Giants can win this game.
I'm going to get to that. I gave my pick
You should be
first.
giving it before your game pick.
Oh, come on. I wanted to get that out of the way. So let me get to that. I was going to get to that. The Giants can win this game if they all sit down in a corner and in a big prayer circle and pray that they can win this game. Shaun, I just don't see, as well as Daniel Jones has played against the Commanders in his career, he has been equally, if not 10 times worse at home against any team. He has not won a game at home since 2022. With that being said, if the Giants want to win this game, and with all seriousness, they want to win this game, they better hope that Jaden Daniels has the worst game of his career, his young career thus far. He needs to turn the ball over 3 times. They need to get to the quarterback every single time, and they cannot miss tackles as many times as they missed tackles in that game against the Commanders earlier on this year. How many times did the Giants make a great defensive play? You thought they had him down, and Jaden Daniels snuck out, got 15 yards, got a first down on 3rd and 15. There were at least 3 or 4 instances in that game where the Giants had him down or had Brian Robinson down, had Austin Eckler down, and they didn't end up getting the tackle because they couldn't tackle. So I think if they want to win this game, if they want any chance, they need to tackle better than they did earlier on this season against the Commanders, and they need to get to the quarterback. And they need to do a lot of praying, Shaun. So 24-10, that's my pick, and that's how the Giants win the game.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to stay away from the running back room in fantasy because we're taping this at Thursday nearing 1 p.m. Eastern. I was told by somebody who covers the team last night, don't be counting Tyrone Tracy out based on where he was in the early concussion protocol on Tuesday. But I can't count him in either. And if he's in, it's a different story running back wise. You took Nabers, and I think that's a smart play. I'm taking Darius Slayton. Here's the deal. 100 yards receiving last week. This is Daniel Jones's guy from his draft class. And when all else fails, even with Darius Slayton's drops, Daniel Jones finds Darius Slayton in a panic when the offensive line is not trustworthy. And right now it's not with Chris Hubbard. So I think you're looking at like another 6 catches from Darius Slayton for 80 plus yards, and maybe he finds pay dirt. I think Darius Slayton's a good pro. Darius Slayton's a frustrating pro with how many balls he drops. But above anything else, as long as Daniel Jones is playing quarterback and Daniel Jones is going to feel hurried, I got to trust that he's going to go to the guy he relies on the most. And that's probably unfair to Malik Neighbors because he should be relying on him the most. Yeah. But it's Darius Slayton, who, by the way, is not going to be drawing double teams the way Malik Neighbors was because Washington's already gotten a taste of this in a game. So give me Darius Slayton as my fantasy play. The reality on how the Giants can win this game. The absolute best games of Dexter Lawrence's career have come against the interior of the Washington defensive front, as they did earlier this year. Brian Burns and Azeez Ojulari are playing free on the edge. People forget this about the Giant defense, and yes, they had Kayvon Thibodeau. They held Jaden Daniels to not score a touchdown the last time they played. They played the field goal game with him, and it should have worked. And last week, Jaden Daniels played with a rib injury that we all are going to walk away remembering the Hail Mary and forget the Washington offense looked like Pootie Tang for most of the day versus the Chicago Bears. There was nothing there. And had the Washington Commanders been playing a better quarterback, Giants don't have that. Caleb Williams was, the Commanders could have gotten their doors blown off a week ago. They're still not a great, perfect team. They are a team that has survived on big electric plays from Daniels. I'm not sure Daniels healthy. So the reality of the game is just hit Jaden Daniels. Get back to that backfield. Hit him. Dare him into mistake plays. And the Giants will have an opportunity to do this. Here's the game pick. The Giants are winning the game Sunday.
Oh, my God.
No, they are. And it has nothing to do with the future. No, I'm not kidding you.
Are you kidding?
I went back and watched Commanders Bears, dude. And this is not going to look pretty. It's not going to look ugly. I'm not telling you the Giants are going to go score like 31 points in this game. Washington's going to struggle. I'm not sure Jaden Daniels finishes this game Sunday with Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns hitting him. And I think that's going to be a storyline here. The Giants are going to play a big-time field goal game. And I think the Giants are going to win the game 19-17. And again, I think Jaden Daniels doesn't finish the game. They hit him a ton. And here's the problem, because I can already see the storyline a million miles away. The Giants aren't going to the playoffs. The Giants are dead. But they're going to end up winning this game clunkily. Then they're going to go play the god-awful Panthers in Germany in a week, find a way to win that game, and they're going to enter the bye 4-6 and like 2 games out of a wild card spot, and a bunch of idiots are going to catch fire and go, hey, you know what? The Bucs without their receivers. Oh, the Cowboys are vulnerable, and people are going to start to draw a path. I'm not telling you I'm drawing that path. I'm telling you I see the pathway to where fans are going to get in a frenzy in the bye week. And then guess what happens? In April, when they're not getting the quarterback they want to get, we're going to look back and go, remember that stretch in early November where we all put in that cost the Giants? How many times are we going to do this every year? So you can yell at me all you want. I'm just giving you a little prophecy into the future of what's going to happen.
But this
and how much.
This is the most negative hypothetical I've ever heard in my entire life. The fact that you think this is going to
happen. I'm laying it out for you.
It could, but
I'm laying it out for you.
God,
and we will be here to recap it all. I'm guessing Sunday night into Monday morning with One Giant Step ever a podcast are available. A little spoiler alert as well. If you want a little ahead of One Giant Step, I actually will be on WFAN following Giants post-game coverage into Sunday night football coverage with the Colts playing whoever the hell they're playing Sunday night. I already got the Vikings. I will be on for like an hour or so, breaking it all down, and then me and Bryce will come your way, bring you a One Giant Step as well. You can follow me at Shaun Morash, follow Bryce at Bryce Gelman, and let's see what happens. If you're going out to MetLife, listen, at least the beer's cold. So enjoy Sunday, and thank you to everybody for taking One Giant Step with us.